So, hello everybody, and welcome to this very special session that we have, Healing Your Money Wounds. This has personally been very important for me because I have had many myself. And of course, as a life coach, I do work with clients who do struggle with money. And I feel like there's a basic lack of understanding of some of the fundamentals. And that's what I was hoping for us to get clarity on today. But I'm not alone. I'm joined by this lovely gentleman, Vivek Anand PS.
Hello.
Vivek has over 19 years of experience in banking and financial services. He was with the Kotak Mahindra Group for 10 years, and he's now founder and managing director of Oaks Asset Management, which is a private equity fund based in Mumbai. And if you're wondering how we managed to hack the social distancing, he's also my husband, my lovely and loving husband. And it was also probably that's why I was able to arm twist him into doing this for us, because he's quite media shy, but I've just seen what immense value his concepts bring to money and just understanding and to healing. So it was my request to him to share some of his insights and his learnings and his experience with us. So thank you, Vivek, so much for joining us, and
My pleasure.
welcome.
Pleasure to be here.
Lovely.
And if I can be of help, thank you.
You've already been a lot, so I'm just hoping we can share what we've already discussed and what I've overheard you discuss with other people as well. That's all it is. So typically our sessions are 20 minutes long, where I have a few questions that I have for Vivek, just to establish some broad understanding, and we'll take a lot of your questions as well. Thank you. We have had many questions come in already. We're going to try and address all of them. You can post questions in the chat box as well. So we will keep the end of this flexible, but we'll definitely do a hard stop in an hour. But 20 minutes is where we'll do the first bit of it. So here we go. All right. So Vivek, I'm basically tapping you because I felt like you were somebody who just understood money without being attached to it on the one hand, or tyrannized by it in any way. Sometimes we all have like these really unhealthy relationships with money, like it's like a toxic boyfriend or a girlfriend. Can't live with it, can't live without it. And as an investor, I see that your professional life revolves around money and big numbers, and yet in your personal life, money doesn't seem to define you at all. So can I start by asking you what your philosophy around money is, or just what does money mean to you?
It's a very interesting question, and actually it's a very deep question. I think the introduction of money, or the relationship with money, largely gets built as a child. So, in my case, it goes back to my childhood. I was raised in a business family, a joint business family, a South Indian business family. And, we were all living together. And since it was a business family, the discussion around money, the discussion around how people allocated capital, how they saved, how they spent, was normal dining room discussion. It was drawing room discussion. And most important, I think I was very fortunate to have my father, who instilled in us this deep respect for money. So it's how you deal with money, or how you relate to money is how you take care of money. So in our case, we start out by my father instilled this feeling of great respect. At home, it was almost the status of a goddess. It was Goddess Lakshmi. So you had to take great care of it. My father very early told me that, listen, Vivek, and he gave me the life lesson that he had learned from his father. That's my grandfather, saying that, take your time and save up a lakh of rupees. Back in the day, a lakh was a big number. Save up a lakh of rupees, and eventually that lakh of rupees will save you. Very, very deep philosophy. So my dad transferred this knowledge to me, saying that, Vivek, it's important for you to go and save that 10 lakh rupees. And after that, you see the power of how that 10 lakh rupees will start saving you. Through the course of my professional life, I just stuck to that, right from my first salary onwards. I started saving, on a monthly basis. And when I reached that 10 lakh mark, actually what my dad had done was he had actually helped me build that relationship with money. When you build something gently, step by step, you start nurturing it. It's like a pup, you raise it from it's like a dog, you raise it from it being a pup. So you take great care of it, and finally when it grows, there is a certain bonding that you've built with it. And that's what happened in my case when I built that corpus. It was a nice relationship, a nice friendship that I built with money. On the other side, I also had my grandfather, who would actually, as a boy, I remember he would take me to his room and he would sit and talk to me about how he built his business, how he would make every naya paisa, as he would call it, sweat, stretch it, and he would tell me about the stories of never having lost money ever in his life. So he made this profound statement. He would play games with me, saying, okay, he would place a 1 rupee coin in his fist and hold it tight in front of me and say, Vivek, try taking this 1 rupee from me. And I would struggle as a kid and I would say, Tata, I can't, give me that 1 rupee. He would say, remember this is how you got to take care of money. Never let go, never lose money. So these were the concepts that were instilled in us growing up, and perhaps that has led me to how I deal with money. For different people, it is different relationships with money. In my case, this is what it was.
Wow. You said something very interesting, what your grandfather said, what 1 lakh can do, and what your dad said, what 10 lakhs can do. What can it do? I mean, are we talking compound interest?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
We learned that in school. But why didn't anybody tell us to do that with our money?
No, but it's a very important question, and it's a very important point that you raised. That money and this friendship with money is not introduced early to kids. And I just wish parents and teachers, and largely parents, I still don't talk about teachers yet. Parents should introduce the concept of money to kids. May not be to expose kids to the wealth that you have, but what is money, the value of money, how do you go and spend, how do you seek value. See, as Indians, the reason we have actually moved forward and built is because we understand value. We know how to make every rupee sweat. And I think those concepts, if you're taught at a very early age, it goes a long way.
Well, I'm going to say, I'm not sure if, seeing value is something that all of us were taught. In my house, for example, or even my family, I think money was like a taboo topic. Everybody was very uncomfortable talking about it. As a result of which, we actually didn't know how to attribute value to something. When we got our first salaries, I wanted to blow it all up on a pair of shoes, But how does one learn what the value is of something?
Well, the fact that today we are in a position to evaluate exactly what you said versus, looking and learning from people who have dealt with money differently, we can take these learnings and put it into practice into our kids to say that start early. Inculcate a habit of savings, inculcate a habit of, it's like this. You got to game this whole thing. I remember my dad had, back in the day when I finished my 10th standard, he actually said that go explore the world, and he gave me 500 pounds and he said go to UK and come back. So I went on my own, but I returned back with 250 pounds and gave it to my dad, and I said, you know what, I had a fantastic trip, but I saved this and here is the money.
You gave the money back to your dad?
I gave the money back to my dad. So
that's a first for a teenager, I'm sure.
Yeah. So it was all about the thrill was not to spend the money. There sure was thrill. The thrill was to save and return the money back. Thrill is the same. It's about how you're able to direct that thrill with a kid.
Wow. But also to say that like 500 pounds was a lot of money. I mean, it still is now. So when you were in college, even more. What was the value your dad saw in that by giving that money?
I think he saw two things. He wanted to test me out, and he wanted to see if I was prepared to deal with the situation. So looks like I passed this test on that day. Also, even though dad was somebody who exposed us to a great amount of knowledge and experiences, and he got us great experiences, took us to the best places and so on. When it came to money, he was extremely hard. I mean, my pocket money in college was 15 rupees a day. And the way he broke up that whole thing, saying that, okay, you have a motorcycle, which means you need petrol, you need, a couple of t-shirts and perhaps 2 jeans, and a pair of shoes can last you for 3 years. So, if I were to, put all of that together, and I'm already paying you your school fees. So college fees, if put all of that together, no, you don't need more than 15 rupees a day. That's 450 rupees a month. And that's exactly what he would give me. but I would make it a point to stretch that 450 to buy my music CDs, music tapes, no CDs,
Yes.
music tapes, go out with friends and so on. And when you couldn't go out, you just couldn't go out. I mean, there was a ceiling put, there was a budget.
But then what is it that makes us, like I mentioned about my wanting to blow up my first salary on shoes? What is it? I mean, when we finally graduate from college, it's the first time we kind of feel like we have control over our own money, and that there has been scarcity for a lot of us in middle class India.
Of course, all of us.
And I mean, isn't it natural to just want to blow it up on things? It was the first time you were eligible for a credit card. You want to go partying. There's suddenly no more strictures. How does that reconcile with what you've been saying?
No, absolutely. It is very important to experience what money can do for you as well. I mean, after having gone through childhood, after having gone through school and college and masters, and once you get your first paycheck, yes, it's important to go and experience that, experience life, and experience what money can give you. But at the same time, it is very important to have that long-term vision that you're entering a very, very important phase in life, which is profession. And this profession, if you play it well, lasts for 35, 40 years. This is a very, very important phase in life where you have access to a steady stream of cash flows. It's a very powerful phase of life. You can either use this 40-year period to just add to your network, add to your lifestyle and so on, and squander away these cash flows, or at some stage say that, I will also save to eventually build up a corpus, because you get this phase, and if you destroy this phase, you will have a miserable post-retirement.
Yeah.
So it is important to experience life. It's important to experience what money can do for you. For the first 1, 2, 3 years, go have fun. But at some stage, put a ceiling on your desire. Put a ceiling on how much you want to, add lifestyle.
Build lifestyle, yeah.
I'll give you an example. As professionals, we join a job, and as we grow, we get increments and so on. And most often, what happens is that we all tend to adjust our lifestyle according to the increment, and we just don't seem to stop it. We keep on adjusting, and we always adjust up. But at some stage, in such a case, how are you going to save? The whole idea of savings is that, at some stage, you draw a line, a ceiling on your desire, ceiling on your lifestyle, and say that the incremental that you have, and that incremental can keep on steadily going up as you get your pay hikes and bonuses and so on. All of that should continue to go into savings. And as it goes into savings, and whatever be the instrument, we're not here on this webinar to discuss instruments, but any form of savings. It could be from bank deposits, Indra Vikas Patras, as my father used to invest, or in equity mutual funds. Just put aside, because the power of compounding happens. And life is very simple. I think if you get this cycle correct, you can lead a life of richness all through, which is use your cash flows of 30, 40 years to create an asset, which will be ready during retirement. If you do the same concept what my grandfather said, the moment you create that 1 lakh or equal to that corpus in today's, that corpus will take care of you. It will provide you a steady stream of cash flows through your remaining phase of your life. I'll repeat, use your 40 years of your steady professional salaries and so on to create a corpus. And that corpus on your retirement will continue to provide you a steady stream of cash flows to lead a comfortable life. People who understand this and crack it, they will always lead a life of abundance.
A life of abundance.
Yeah.
I love that, because I think so many of us come from a concept of scarcity. I want to just point out one thing that you said about your dad, which was that, you said your dad was testing you, but also that he was putting that responsibility on you. I feel, particularly as modern parents, we simply don't give our kids enough of an opportunity to make small mistakes or to do experiments with money, and either we give them too much or we give them none at all. But that, I think, was quite a defining moment for your life.
Absolutely. I think like anything beautiful, to build anything beautiful, it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of hard work. There's a lot of pain involved in it. So if you want to build a child, a young adult who has a certain set of values around money, it takes time. It takes a set of engagements. It takes discussions. There are lots of hits and misses, but you have to spend time. Once you're willing to spend time in a very focused, conscious manner, there is no reason why you will not develop a young adult who has values around money. Even if he or she does not develop it, it is sitting somewhere in the subconscious. And should they face hardship in life, it will all come out saying that, hey, go back into that subconscious and say, what did my parents teach me? How did they teach me to live and value money? So it all comes back. So none of this is lost.
We're going to go a little bit future looking in just a bit, but before that, one observation that when you mentioned the ceiling on lifestyle, it also ties in fabulously with what we behaviorists sort of advocate, which is that beyond the point, incremental lifestyle is not going to give you incremental joy, right? There's this sort of diminishing returns.
Diminishing marginal utility.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. As an economist would say. The other thing was, we will go about again future looking, but you mentioned also instruments, and I'm not going to ask you for specifics here, but our world has gone through so much flux. And I don't just mean in the last few weeks, the last few years, the way we see property and ownership has changed. We are in the sharing economy. But on the other hand, I still have, aunts who tell me, whatever you do, don't sell your gold. But I mean, I am Malayali, so maybe that's why. But so from all of this, how do we know, is there like a rule of thumb? I'm not asking you to suggest instruments, but how do we know how to allocate our resources? How do we future-proof that corpus that we want?
Sure. I think, step back first is to, be principally clear that this is the path that I'm going to take, which is that I'm going to instill a lot of discipline to build that corpus and save no matter what every single month. And it is hard, as I say that, to build anything beautiful, to build anything magnificent, you need to undergo a lot of pain and sacrifice and letting go. The moment you're clear about that, go sit down with a financial planner, read up. The internet and the web is full of information. Read great books, read some of the greatest investors, how they have done this in life. And it's all there. And it is very, very simple. It is not as complicated as people think it is. It is the most simplest of principles. Keep putting aside money for longer periods of time. That is all it is.
I can't second that more. I think if one thing you've taught me is to just simplify how I save my money. It doesn't have to be like 25 different things that I need to keep track of all the time. I feel actually freed now because there's so few headings that I have to track. And just making sure that we're staying on top and understanding what the environment is looking like, and just taking some intuitive but also some studied calls on these, right? When you have like 5 heads to look after, it doesn't take very much time at all, and a once a month review perhaps, right?
That's it. I think the lesser number of line items you have, you also over a period of time build expertise in that, because you're continuously looking at those line items, you're continuously studying those line items, make you a friend. The more and more you do that, it starts becoming your second nature. You start loving and enjoying it. And it's as simple as that.
Yeah, I can second that. I mean, for somebody who didn't want to look at my savings or portfolio or even my bank balance, I've started getting so excited because there's just that few, and it doesn't, it's not like it takes up all of my day.
And stick to simple things. And I think, there are lots of too good to be truths that we keep getting introduced to. Somebody doing something. There is this unicorn. There is this broker giving you 3% per month, and so on. Hey. If it's too good to be true, it is too good to be true. So just, common sense.
Vivek has said that to me many, many times. If it sounds too good to be true, it is too good to be true. I think we should just take a moment here, Vivek, to acknowledge all the love that you've been getting. There are lots of people joining in, saying hello to us as well.
Sure.
From around the world, I might add. I see some names who've reached out.
Sure.
So hello and welcome to everybody who joined in later. One question here, Vivek, are there any books that you would recommend that could help us, that you can think of off the top of your head?
Just basic principles of investing. One book that taught me a lot, and it's almost like a cultish following, is a book called The King of Capital. It's the story of Steve Schwarzman. It's a beautiful book, and I've read it many times. And then there is another book that I really value. It's a book called The Outsiders. I really like that book, and it's a must-have in your library if you don't. So yeah, I mean, you start with that, and you can keep going into deeper items.
Lovely.
Yeah.
We'll make sure we post a link to that once this Facebook Live goes on YouTube, so you'll definitely get it there. Moving on, Vivek, what about risk? Now, any kind of investment is tied into risk. How do we assess our own risk appetite and our capacity for risk? I was going to use the example of a unicorn, but you already told me if it sounds too good to be true, it is. But literally, what parameters should I base my decisions on? Because at some point, I mean, I was shocked to find this out some years ago that my money in an FD would not beat inflation. So I would actually be net negative if I was like my parents did, just put money in a fixed deposit. So what is the answer for risk assessment?
No, I think over there I'll ask you to defer to your financial advisor. There are today tools to help you to somewhere build a framework and an investment policy statement based on your risk profile, and create a framework within which you can start investing. So, consult a financial consultant, and he or she will be in a position to, build this for you.
Okay, so there is value in taking help from professionals.
Absolutely, absolutely. There's great amount of science and art to this. Science, yes.
Okay, there is a science to it.
Yes.
Okay, that's an important takeaway. Again, something they never taught us in school. I'm just appalled, and I wish today that if there's one sort of wish list I could have, it's that I mean, as professionals also, my parents are doctors, but money was just not something we ever learned how to manage. It's such an accident, just like parenting, right? You just go into it blind and do the best you can, and you have so many accidents.
I can so see that, and I think even before school, the real interaction with money and relationship with money or friendship with money starts at home. I would still not call it as much as a school topic, but it is at home. It's at your dining table. It's about how you're giving out money on an impressed basis to your child, and seeing how they spend. It's most important to observe that the child actually looks at you as to how you spend, how you go out there and transact. All that goes into building financial discipline.
Okay, a little bit more forward thinking now. Say I'm just a few years into my career, and I've started to put away some money. I have seen online calculators for how to build a retirement corpus and stuff, but say I'm really young right now, is there like a number that I should work towards, or if I'm in my 20s, do I just put away the most I can or the best I can? Where does one go from scarcity mindset to fear of will I run out of money, will I run out of job, to I will need this much for sure?
I think if you're thinking about these things in your early 20s, then I think you're set for something magical in your retirement, because most people, it doesn't even dawn to them at that age. You have your entire runway of 40-50 years life to really build it out. So you're in a fantastic spot, I would say. And at that juncture, if you're thinking this wisely, then obviously you're thinking around consulting wise people around you to say, hey, how do I do it? So you're already receptive, and I think you will find information.
Okay, yeah, so true. The minute you sort of your thinking starts going in a particular way, you'll start seeing resources all around
Absolutely.
you, right? I keep giving the example of when you suddenly decide that you want to have a child, on the same route that you took to work, you'll suddenly start seeing maternity hospitals,
Absolutely.
IVF, blah blah blah. That it was always there. We just never were orientated towards
Absolutely.
it. Okay,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
So excellent point there. Let's go a little bit now to the actual scenario that we are in.
Sure.
Both corporate and personal losses in the last few weeks have been staggering. I know a lot of individual portfolios, savings have been hugely impacted. What advice can you give us for us to stay afloat during this storm, during this crisis?
Let me put it, sharing of best practices more than advice. I'll just say that yes, we've gone through this situation, and it's actually a blessing, I would say, for most people. And when we go into the future and look back, we will actually treat this as a blessing, because this is a time where, for the last 5 odd weeks, 6 odd weeks, we've been able to sit down, hunker down and contemplate and actually come to the understanding that yes, indeed, money is important, and I have to change my spending habits. I have to save a certain way. So use this opportunity to recreate and build out your plans of investing and your financial models. Consult your financial consultant. Go out there and start. I mean, even if you start today, nothing is lost. You have the next 20, 30 years. The good thing for India is that we are a nation whose average age is 26. So all of us, as a nation, yes, I'm not really talking about too young or too old, but as a nation, we are 26 years old, which is fantastic. Most of us have at least the remaining 30 years, 35 years to go and build out these portfolios.
Yeah. I mean,
and if you go to a state like Uttar Pradesh, state is 21 years old. I mean, that entire state is sitting on a dream run from here on. So I see it more as an opportunity.
Pure potential,
pure opportunity, and you have the entire runway to go from.
And like you say, life begins at 40 or 50 or 60, and we still have 20, 30 years to go. So
absolutely,
never too late to start.
Absolutely, right? And I think at age 40 onwards, it's the most glorious period in one's life, because you have everything working for you, which is experience. I mean, if you're taking care of your health and so on, health is also providing a great amount of tailwind. And perhaps a little bit of savings that you've got. So starting 40, it's the greatest time for you to go out and achieve whatever you want to. And also it's a time in life where even if you slip, you have the ability and capacity and the learnings to be able to get up and go back once again. It is a fantastic phase. Do not lose this opportunity.
Absolutely, and from the other side, these few weeks have also taught us how to put a ceiling on our spending and on our lifestyle, right?
Absolutely.
That we've realized that we can get by with so much less.
Absolutely.
And still be so happy or content.
Absolutely, and it's important to you make a fantastic point, just to take all these learnings and practice it and be very, very ruthless when it comes to these things. It has to be driven by discipline. It's okay to miss a meal, but I will not miss my systematic investment plan. So if you go with that, only then can you build something. As I said, you want to build something beautiful and magical, it comes at a cost of blood, sweat, tears. Nothing comes easy.
Everything comes at a cost,
yes,
for that matter. So
absolutely.
I think you're saying that saving is a non-negotiable,
absolutely,
right? It's a non-negotiable. If you think of it as that way, usually we somehow can make it happen.
Yes.
It's when we give ourselves the leeway that things will just start to slip and slide.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, Vivek's taught me that for sure in the last few years. About this crisis, financially speaking, do you have any inside information on when we can expect this to change and when things will start picking up?
Well, I'm actually sitting with more prayers in my heart, and actually referring to the scientists and the doctors and industrialists and businessmen who are working doubly hard out there to perhaps create a vaccine to bring the entire planet out of this crisis. So I think it's more prayers at this point in time, and we are all looking for their work now. That's all I can say.
Thank you. Okay, so clearly there's no Illuminati conspiracy theory that you know or are a part of that you can give us any insights on.
Absolutely.
I'm going to very quickly, I think a lot of sort of how to heal our wounds. This phase has been a good time for us to kind of like just lick our wounds and take stock, and like you said, hunker down and start to heal from here forth. We have had some questions coming in, Vivek, so can I just
Sure, please.
And for those watching, if you do have questions, please feel free to ask them here. The first question is from Mohit, and he says, "How do you deal with the fear that your money should not extinguish during your lifetime?" I share his fear as well.
Sure. So once again, consult your financial consultant and address that fear. Go and put all your fears down and put your current status and affairs on a piece of paper. And if there is indeed a gap that you see, work towards that gap. And indeed there is no gap, then you can continue your affairs as the way you're conducting.
Yeah.
But take that fear out. Try to vocalize it on a piece of paper, on a spreadsheet, and that helps you.
I think data can be so powerful, right? Information
Absolutely.
can be so powerful in dispelling fears.
Yes, it's a great tool. it has to be a combination of tools and and art and hunch and so on. But put it on a spreadsheet and simulate it over a period of time and see if it's really a cause for fear or no, and then let's deal with it.
Yes, yes. I think also in terms of who we consult, historically a lot of us in India have consulted, sometimes elders, well-meaning elders, astrologers, numerologists. Now they might be good for our spiritual well-being or for guidance or speaking from their particular experience. But I think it's important to distinguish that they are not experts. They're not financial experts, right?
Absolutely.
So it's like saying when you have a broken leg, you don't want to go to like a skin doctor, because you need to go to a bone doctor. Right? So I think that's a key takeaway that we have. We've already missed. There was Karan saying hello to us, Susan saying hello to us earlier. We have Glenn who says, if you've taken care of your health, later on it provides great amount of tailwind. This sentence speaks volumes. So yes, I think well-being, productivity, financial health are all go hand in hand, and the wellness of one is directly proportionate to the wellness of the other, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's only a healthy body that can house a healthy mind, and if you don't have a healthy mind, how can you have healthy thoughts? And healthy thoughts is what you manifest as actions. And so everything is connected, and it starts with healthy body.
Yep, I can second that more. Vivek and I work out together as well, by the way. He's of course way overshot me, but it's been the best fun working out together. We do have a question from Rajdeep, and he asks, how should couples address money wounds caused by a lack of saving mindset by one of the partners? I think I see this all too often in my practice as well, Vivek. Do you want to have a go at it?
Yeah, sure. So, like it or not, it's a joint effort. It's a team game. You have no other choice but to get both aligned on that common vision. As I said, like anything, you'll have to work hard at it. You'll have to put all sorts of efforts towards bringing your partner or whoever it is who's working along with you to build this corpus aligned. So perhaps you can do this together. Make it a joint effort. The way you go out and have a dinner, or the way you go out and enjoy a movie, the way you go out on a holiday. This is a project, and if you're able to visualize this beautiful mansion 40 years out, and you have to build it brick by brick, do it together. Make it a consultative. Make it a joint effort. And I think that's the only way to deal with it. But you have to deal with it. You have to put a lot of effort.
Yeah. It's almost like you're in a team at work, and you're trying to get your team members aligned to the common vision, right?
Yeah.
The first step should be to try and get a buy-in from that person, because you can see that big vision at the end of it for both of you.
Absolutely.
And if you're not able to find like a common ground, then that's when you get in a mediator and another expert there. That's when you get in like a relationship counselor to help you.
Yeah, perhaps may not be. I always believe that use your near and dear ones. Use the wise men around you, your family, people whom you can trust to sit together and discuss these things rather than some outsider, because these are all personal matters, and at least this is from my personal experience.
I've always not all of us have sometimes family may not always be accessible to us, and sometimes what I see also in my practice is that relationships are complicated.
Sure.
And in which case professionals do exist, and never before have we been able to reach out to them, have such easy access to them.
Absolutely.
The other thing that I found really helps is for couples. This is usually typically early in the relationship, or very often even before marriage, is to actually go in for premarital counseling. Financial conflicts is one of the comes in the top 5 of reasons of relationships breaking up today. I have seen several successful examples of premarital counseling or premarital coaching, or just after marriage couples coaching being very helpful, because that's where you sort of come together and understand how each of you is aligned on the big issues of life, whether it's kids, money, family, a joint vision, or your individual pursuits. It's good to have, bottom line, it's good to have these conversations, and it's critical to have these conversations.
Absolutely.
Right?
And it's important. Sorry to cut you
No.
off there. It's important to have your partner come along with you, which is start with a project. Make it a project, right? You're going to your financial consultant. Go along. together. And because when with visuals, the financial consultant is able to project and demonstrate to you where you are headed in this stage, and where if you make some minor corrections or major corrections, where you can potentially be, I think it can be eye-opening. So try a bunch of things. Don't give up.
Yeah. We just take a few questions, but I just want to say also that the converse is, if we're not doing it, even if you don't want to address it, and you say what ends, two things can end up happening, which is that one partner ends up taking an unfair share of the burden. The other partner can end up feeling completely left out of the process.
Yes.
And this in turn sort of works like a little bit of an acid. It kind of creates like a barrier between two people, and that acid slowly drips until a fracture actually happens. So that's something that again I see so critical to address, and not to push under the carpet.
Absolutely.
or just take the burden on alone. It's really not something that one partner should take 100% of the responsibility for. And then we also avoid the situations where, when one partner, God forbid, suddenly is no more, or if there's a divorce, the other partner is left completely high and dry, clueless, and simply not capable of managing their lives. Vivek, Soumya wanted to ask if you could just tell us the name of the first book that you referred to.
That was a book called The King of Capital.
The King of Capital.
And second book, The Outsiders.
Yes. Sheila Prakash, I do believe that's mom. Thank you so much. She's sending you her love as well. Shania, your question is, what kind of investments should one start with in your late 20s? Any long-term or short-term investments? With more generic answer?
Yeah, sure. If you're trying to ask this as somebody who is in her late 20s, then you've got a long runway, and you pick your financial instruments based on your financial goal. And if your goal is something that you're visualizing at age 65, 70, then know that you have this long runway, which means you can indulge in instruments which can give you sort of bigger returns than other instruments over a longer period of time, perhaps equities or bank deposits.
Yeah.
But if you're asking this question at this time, I must say you're in a great spot.
I know, Shania. Really, this is such a healthy thought to be having to start
Yes.
with. Okay. We have another question. This is from Suresh. He says, I'm giving loans to so many friends and staff members that I've lost track of them. I feel like I'm a soft touch for money, but somewhere I feel this is breeding resentment in me. Or worse, when my friends don't return the money, they only start avoiding me. What am I doing wrong?
Well, I have a simple policy, and I'm not here trying to advise you, but I will use this. Is that I most times these are favors that you're doing. These are friendly gestures. These are not investments, mind you. When you're and it's a favor and it's a help that you're doling out. I think pretty much in your mind you're writing it off, saying that look, it's help. So it's about how you position it in your mind, and it's as simple as that. The other way to look at it is, be ruthless about it. Is a discipline, saying that this is not something that I will indulge in henceforth, and as simple as that. And whatever I've done till today, draw a line and say, I write it off. It's over. And the moment you write it off, the mind is able to position it so beautifully that anything that you get as somebody out of the goodness of their heart paying you back is like a fresh income for you. So it's as simple as that. The mind has a beautiful way to deal with these things the moment you're clear about how you want to deal.
Okay, but like, should we feel awkward about asking our friends back for the money, or asking stuff?
Absolutely not. I mean, it's again what sort of relationships that you have built. If it's a relationship of absolute clarity, and you're able to speak with your friend, and it's a friend, ask what's wrong.
What about like charging interest from when you give a loan to a friend? To me that was like inconceivable, but I see that in many communities that happens, and in families as well.
Well, again, it's the principle of investing. I mean, in my family, if a family member takes money from the common corpus, we pay an interest. I mean, it is as simple as that. Money, there is time value. It is not your money. It is the family's money. So when we take, if I were to borrow from my father, and I will pay an interest to my father, and it's as simple as that. It is pure It's money, it's business.
Actually, I thought that was brilliant because it also then takes any of the ill feeling or resentment out.
There is clarity in the engagement. I think the moment you build clarity, it's again when you deal with friends, there is no clarity, and that's what creates all of this mess. The moment there is clarity, I think things are very simple.
Suresh, I hope that helps. Vikas, I'd like to hear more about managing finances together as a couple. Any further tips? So, for somebody just starting out with in their life as a couple, as Vikas I know is, what would be your advice?
Oh, that's a very nice question. I think it's important that both of you find a nice evening, go and sit with your financial advisor and chart out your path together. Build this project together. I think it's great joy to do it together. It's another I would say a holiday or an adventure to do it together. And the moment you are both aligned into it, it becomes so beautiful to do it.
So, because you know what to do on your next date night or date evening. Devin, hi. Recommend some good, trustworthy financial consultants. True that sometimes family is not always available to us. My dad's cousin manages our finances, but he's quite old now and doesn't have a clear successor.
Sure. Since Devan is a friend and a very dear friend, and we've gone on the mountains, more than happy to give you a recommendation offline. And it's purely because I know you. I will go ahead and recommend financial advisor.
But for our viewers generally, Vivek, like if we're in doubt, should we pick like an organization over an individual? Is there a preference? Is there more safety or trust in that we can have in one or the other if we're going in blind?
Well, organization or individual, it has to be. I mean, it has to be a regulated entity, somebody who's kosher, somebody who follows the rules. Today, I think the regulator is also the watchdog is put a certain framework to say to license out consultants and financial advisors. So the market is also getting a lot more regulated, and people who are running fly-by-night shops are all dropping away.
Okay.
I think today we have access to so much of information, and we sure can find good advisors.
Okay. What about organizations that are advisors but also have their own financial products? So they recommend somebody else's, but they have their own. Is that a conflict in any way? Do you? I've always wondered about that.
It is truly, yes. Of course, there is a conflict. No doubts about it. I will not go deeper into that. But yes, there is a conflict. But you are today having a regulator who is stepping up to that and trying to sort of take out or iron out all those conflicts.
Create a separation between Okay,
manufacturers and
sense.
advisors and so
Right.
on. Yes.
Okay. But important for us to be aware of these
Absolutely,
things as
absolutely.
well. Devin, I hope that helps. Vivek will connect with you offline, not in the mountains for a few weeks, but you'll just have to hold on. Okay, this question comes from Sheetal. Oh my, she could have been my twin sister. I always feel awkward to ask for a pay rise or even to state my price when asked. I feel like I give in too quickly because my belief is that they will hire someone else just as good as me, but at a lower price. How do I stand my ground?
Well, I think you are better positioned to answer that question as a psychologist than me.
Um,
But
Go
I
ahead,
just
Vivek. Yeah,
I just think
really
that I've always felt that there's no harm asking. Uh, if you're prepared for a no, and if you know that the probability is zero, there is really no harm asking. Muster up the courage and go and ask. I mean, if there is value and if you're able to put out confidence there, it'll get accepted. I mean, that's been my philosophy in life.
Yeah. As somebody who's been less confident of herself over the years, I will add, Sheetal, it's a combination of two things. It's understanding where you're positioned in your industry. Do you have a niche that where there's tremendous supply and less demand, or more demand, scarcity of supply, kind of getting that sort of data and information where you're uniquely placed, and also not just about uniquely placed, but also how you're uniquely positioning yourself. I think particularly we as women, we tend to really hesitate to showcase everything that we have on offer. I see this with some of my extremely talented and brilliant women clients who who they just dismiss their own capacity. They're like, oh, but that comes easily to me, and that I've been doing for 20 years, so therefore it's nothing. But what comes easily to you could actually be the thing that can bring greatest value to the person on the other side. So definitely it's about learning to value yourself, understanding where you stand in the market, but also you're presenting a package of yourself to the person on the other side, and you're saying, hey, listen, this is everything that I bring, you're going to love me. And then it becomes a lot easier to hold your ground. And one other thing which I've learned very recently in my life is to step out of a scarcity mindset, this fear-based thinking that, oh, I'll never get it, or it will never happen to me. These are all sort of thinking patterns that we've sometimes just inherited, or we've grown up with, or for whatever reason we haven't had that feeling of wholesomeness within ourselves, that we feel that we're worth demanding for, and or as the famous tagline goes, because you're worth it. So you're just the combination of data plus this work on yourself, I think, will really help. And again, there are professionals that can help to do this if it's important enough for you. Susan, absolutely right. Imposter syndrome, especially for women, the feeling that, oh my God, I'm not good enough, or that somebody's going to see through me and ask me for my degree and find out that I actually bunked half of my course. I mean, the way that we can sell stories to ourselves is incredible. All I'm saying is work on yourself such that you can sell incredible stories to the person in front of you. And it's not about fabrication at all. It's really about using the words of positivity and looking at yourself as an outsider should be seeing you. Thank you, Susan, for that. Susan and I have known each other, by the way, like 30 years or more, I think. So we go back a long way. As an independent professional, this one comes from Sheetal. Did we have another Sheetal? No. Okay. This one, she says she's a graphic designer and her income is variable. How much contingency should I plan for? 2 months, 6 months, 1 year?
This is it's a fantastic question, and growing up, I was taught this early, saying that it's just one of those basic principles of how you build your financial portfolio, saying that one needs to have 6 to 8 months of salary lying in your banking account at all points in time. It's a very simple one, but it helps you tide over periods of crisis. It helps you tide over periods where suddenly there is you just lose your stream of cash flows or your job for a period of time. So 6 to 8 months of cash sitting idle in your bank. So this was something that was taught to me very early, and I'm just sharing that with you.
So true. Also, I think sometimes, you just end up not having clients for like a good 1 or 2 months, and this helps you reorient and
it helps you tide over a lot of situations. And I'm sure in 6 to 8 months we will go out there and put all our energies to try get new business and so on and so forth, and come back.
Yeah. That's a useful rule of thumb, and not like outrageously high as well.
Yes.
That will just cripple us.
Correct. But on top of that, I keep going back to saying that put a ceiling on your desires. Put a ceiling on your desires, saying that even if I don't make pay for 2-3 months, I can comfortably tide over and avoid using consumer debt, which is avoid swiping credit cards and carrying that debt forward. Settle it by the end of the month. Live within the means. Life becomes very easy.
This really is stuff that we should be learning in school. I mean, I can't say it enough times. There's like 6 standards, something. Live within your means, child. Life is that simple. Keep it simple.
But it's all right. We suddenly have this crash course of 5 weeks thanks to COVID-19, which is allowing us to unlearn and relearn once again in our life. So use it as an opportunity. As I said, we've got a long way to go. The future is bright. I mean, we can do some great things to survive. The future is bright.
Thank you for that. You're always optimistic, and I mean, for somebody who's in private equity, I can't even imagine what you're going through right now. But I have never seen you lose sleep.
Well, let's just say we always invest in future, and I've been doing it for 20 years. I better walk that line.
Okay. I mean, that's like innards of steel, I'm going to say. um, one more question. This one is from Vishal. He says, some friends and I are starting a new company and we're putting different amounts of our savings into it.
Sure.
Although mine is the largest contribution, I don't want there to be resentment amongst us going forward, but I feel like I should have more of a say. What is an equitable way to do this?
Very interesting. I think as partners, and if you're starting out, and again, this is out of my own experience and having some really, really great partners in my life, in my current business, you know, it's very important to sit on a table and, this entire business that you're building and all of this partnership that you're building is on the basis of trust and openness. And it's important to openly thrash out all these points and get comfortable with one another, because you're going to be living literally with one another, and there will be tough times where you need one another to support you. You don't need to you shouldn't watch your back, especially when you're with your partners, and that's what is the foundation to build a great company. So if that's the case, sit down, thrash out all of these things, and create a master document. This is something that we did in our company too. Early, we sat down, we debated, and we thrashed out all sorts of scenarios into the future. We took the help of wise men around us, and to finally come to an agreement. All of us read it, reread it, and finally said, "Hey, this is the way to do it." And I think it's fairly simple. The more and more transparent and open and clean you are, it's very easy to create engagements.
And I think to what Vishal, if I'm not mistaken, was asking, which is that more money, I mean, in a sense, saying that more money gives me more value, it's a bit of like money ego, and it's a fallacy. Could they don't necessarily both translate, do they? Because another person may be bringing in expertise, and another person may be taking a bigger risk in walking away from his job to put his lot in this partnership, right?
Sure.
So how do you put a value to all of these things?
And as I say, no one will know this circumstance better than Vishal there. So precisely why, all of you sit together and thrash these things out at the core of it. You're building something and build it on the basis of trust. Build it on the basis of this absolute openness. Feel free to share it with your friend, because at the end of the day, you're going into business with these people.
Yeah.
That's the only way to do it, and there is no greater complication than that.
So I think, Vishal, it's a great question that you asked this right at the start.
Talk it out with your friends. Talk it out with your partners, and because resentment can actually break things. Discuss openly. Great teams are built by this absolute transparency and putting everything out.
Yes.
Fight it out.
Yes.
And debate on every single point. Punch each other if need be. Be as transparent is what I'm saying, but know that it's for a common cause.
Yeah.
The winner has to be a partnership.
And punch each other now rather than
I know.
5 years down the line,
right.
when you've made certain assumptions and you're like, hey, why aren't you giving me enough respect? I'm the one who put in 35% and to your 28,
right.
And better to do this punching right now. So glad you asked this question, and we wish you all the very best in your venture. Inderjeet, hi Inder. He says, this is a fabulous idea, guys. Please develop a few modules for college kids and let's get it out there. Inder, I couldn't agree more. I have already sold my soul to my husband to get him onto this one session, so it's a great start for me. Like I mentioned at the beginning, he's very, very media shy. You'll see that he doesn't exist anywhere on the internet, and like my friends had said to me when we first met, that listen girl, if he isn't on the internet, he doesn't exist. But so I have managed to bring him out of his shell for this one session. I do hope it's been helpful for you. We're almost at the top of the hour now. Thank you to all of you that stayed on for the full hour, and we will put this up on YouTube. Just give us a day or two to do it. And above all else, Vivek, thank you so much. It really is like out of your normal comfort zone, but you've been so sharing, and I really, just how you transformed my one money wounds. I'm like an evangelist now. So really, really thank you for this.
My pleasure. I'm glad I could be of some help in sharing experiences. I don't think this is about
teaching or learning. It's all about sharing.
Absolutely.
Sharing best practices.
Absolutely.
That's all.
Yeah, we learn from each other.
That's right.
If you have any other questions, you have my email address. It's dynamiclivingindia@gmail.com, or just go to my YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/c/Sandhya Krishnan. You can post a question on any of my comment in the comment box, and we'll definitely try and get to you at some point as soon as we can. Send your friends. Inder says, send your friends to the mountains to find him. Yes, that's where you'll find Vivek on any given Sunday, on any given Saturday. Ken says, Sandhya and Vivek looking gorgeous together. Thank you, Ken. Sabrina says,
That's my partner.
Okay, they definitely have powers. I've heard it. Sabrina says, Vivek, you're doing so amazing. Thank you for doing this. It's been so insightful. Thank you, Sandhya. You're a star. Love you, Sabrina. Shona, such a great session. Thank you. Nakia, champions. Devin, thank you, Daddy V and Mummy G. So Daddy V is Vivek's mountaineering name because he's the one who organizes all our treks now. He's completely taken over from me. So he's Daddy V. Meera says, Vivek is a natural on media. Hope to see more of you. Yeah, right? I mean, I'm supposed to be the social media person between us, and look at you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everybody. And how do you have so much, Vivek, how do you have so much wisdom at such a young age?
That's my partner.
Okay.
You can't fake it. That's my partner,
we're
Ken.
Stay tight-lipped about that one. So I think that's enough now. You two take your love affair somewhere else. Okay, guys, I'll let you go. I know everybody's got work and chores and stuff to get back to, and it is Friday evening. Have a wonderful weekend. For those of you that are getting back to normal life, let all of these learnings follow you, not just of this session, but of the last 6 weeks. Be safe, be well, and we will all come out of this stronger. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.